Hello and welcome back to Coach's Corner. And once again, I'm joined by Adam Kent. How are we doing, Adam? You all right, mate?
I'm great, mate. Thanks for having me.
So, if you joined us last month in May, Adam jumped on for the first episode of Coach's Corner, where we covered rebuilding your business after coming back from COVID. And Adam gave us some tips and some insight on what's happening in the employed PT model and how he is helping his team grow their businesses again. And then from that conversation, we decided we needed to do a part two. We needed to do a part two and dive a little bit more into lead gen. So just a very quick intro into Adam. I met Adam Kent quite a few years ago in Virgin, and
Many years ago.
Many years ago in Virgin, and Adam's still in Virgin. Adam's a master trainer, but he's also the PT head coach at Virgin Active in Clapham Common. And what the head coach is he basically runs the PT team. It's more of a mentoring role. He coaches them and makes sure his team delivers. Is that the best way to sum up your role?
Yeah, I would describe it as that. It's essentially, I would say, it's in the name, isn't it? It's the coaching of the personal trainers. So just giving them sort of like the best advice. From a very long-standing career like myself, I was very successful enough to become a master trainer, and then it's just sort of employing a lot of the experience and tactics that I use to grow my business. And funnily enough, I learnt most of that from you.
Back in the day.
back in the day.
So let's dive into that then. So before we get into lead generation, let's just have a quick recap of how you've been and how things are going, or how the industry's been. So the whole point of Coach's Corner is that we jump on monthly and we give an insight of what's new, what's coming up, and then a few little tips. So we'll start with kind of what's happening. We was meant to do this episode a couple of weeks ago, but due to I don't know, we've both been busy. I had another course to run at Gymbox, and I know you was you had to really push up your members of the team, and you've been just closing out the quarter. Well, this quarter's quarter one of the financial year. So yeah, how's things we got at Virgin? How's the employed PT world?
It's going great, mate. So we've been busier than ever. So I feel that when we came back in April, May, people just jumping to get back into the gym, and we took full advantage of that. So we were out and about. We've picked up so many clients in that short period of time that we actually had to hire new PTs because we just couldn't take the amount of inquiries. So that's great for us, great for the business, and it was quite a trend for the region of London as well. So a lot of our clubs were smashing it out of the park in terms of generating new clients. Good. So I'm happy. Virgin Active seems very happy. And a lot of my PTs seem very happy as well because they're all smashing above 20 sessions a week now. So most of them hitting towards that 25, 30 hours. I mean, it's like top end full time.
Oh, that's great. That's really good. So, I mean, it's good to hear because there is like, we did come back into a negative situation of COVID, of unknowns. We've obviously just missed the next day of things reopening. That's been pushed back a month. So it's good to hear a bit of positive that things are going well.
It was just unprecedented because nobody knew what to expect when we came back because everyone was wondering if it was going to be like our rush for February, March. And, you're kind of thinking that it's coming in towards the summer. I mean, we're starting to probably see the sort of, I wouldn't say the downturn, but the slowing down of inquiries coming now into the tail end of June, July, which we always know is always going to be quite a period, just because generally most people are going on holiday, half terms coming up. But as no one's really going anywhere this year, well, not meant to be. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in the next few months?
Yeah, that's a huge bonus on our part, right? With this announcement about July, probably August, people might start running away and going on holiday. But we've still got probably another 4-6 weeks of training. Having quite busy diaries, and then at one point in August, September, people will be running away for holidays. So yeah. In the self-employed world, I've been teaching courses at Gymbox, a lot of PTs going back, people moving around. I mean, some of the city clubs are still a little bit quiet at the moment, and that might stay for a little bit while, but the residential clubs are booming. Good. Okay, so let's talk about, so we're still on this, everybody's still rebuilding their business. If people come back mid-April, mid-April, mid-May, mid-June, they're 2.5 months into the business. And remember we said last time, you've got to come back with, like when you come back to the gym, you've got to come back with this mindset of, I'm restarting again. What was my
Yeah, start from scratch, start from zero.
what was my business doesn't exist anymore. If they come back, that's great. I'll just put them in as my new
Yeah,
numbers.
it's bonus.
Yeah, but if they don't come back, I am going in my mindset of restarting again, and that's how we started getting into setting yourself daily targets and meeting
Yep.
people. And then we started going on this tangent. We're talking about floor walking. We was like, this is for another day. So that day is today. Right. So let's say you get a brand new PT. Joins in July, and there'll be loads of PTs that'll be joining. Well, there's a few joining Gym Box in July. There'll be other PTs going to Virgin, different places. Let's talk about day one, week one, going into the gym, plan. You've got 3 months to build your business. Let's talk about floor walking. Let's talk about meeting people.
Yeah, it's so Virgin Active come up with a model which does actually seem to make a lot of sense, and it seems quite viable for the average PT that's coming in. So I'm talking about someone that's not very specialist, someone that's just completed the level 3. I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never really sort of ran my own business, and they go for the 5x5 model, which is essentially you should be doing 5 things a day, 5 days a week.
Nice.
So essentially taking up to about 25 hours of productivity. So if you're not delivering 5 sessions a day, then you should be thinking about how you're splitting up those 5 hours into activities, floor walking, lead generation, delivering taster sessions and whatnot. So we had to really scratch our heads a little bit when we came back, because we're quite an inquiry heavy club. But as we know that, as I said, we're coming into that sort of quieter period, coming into June, July. More than anyone that this is the months that you work the hardest, and this is where you really do sometimes have to scrape. And when you are quite inquiry heavy club, going back onto the gym floor and doing the walks, things can be quite daunting.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's not something that people maybe regularly practice, and especially when you get into a position like myself as a head coach, that you need to sometimes be able to show it can be done.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of almost rewind in your mind a little bit, like, what was it like when I was a PT back in the day? What did I have to do? And it's quite funny when obviously we pick our brains about this kind of tactics that we used to use.
Yeah. Well, mate, I totally agree, because it happened to me when I moved from Fitness First to Gym Box, and I went from it's not saying you're a big fish, but you're in the club. It's your club. You know every single member. I'd been there 4 years, and then it was just like I knew all the PTs. I employed half of them. It was like right now I'm moving, and it was like okay, floor walking. My diary's empty. I've got nothing but time. Right, and I just had to completely reset, completely change my mindset, and I find. Sometimes what you get as well, you get senior PTs that might even lose a few clients, and then they instead of going floor walking, they might blame the system of getting leads through the club or whatever, instead of going back to what actually worked when they first started.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always have to say this. It's like, well, how did you when someone's gets to that magical 25 hours a week, and then they do have a little bit of a bumpy road, and they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. It's like, well, probably because you haven't actually done any lead generation for a couple of weeks. You took your foot off the pedal, and you allow some people to slip through the cracks, which happens. You know what I mean? People come and go all the time. So you're always thinking about replacing your clients. You're always looking for high risk clients, someone that that's only going to be there for a pack or two for a couple of months, because that's all they wanted to come and see you for.
Yeah.
So a number of things that I'll sit down with people is going basically through kind of a little bit the ABCs of floor walking. So for me, the big one, kind of what you were saying a little bit about how you were sort of slightly the big fish back in the gym. You were a little bit like that at Virgin Active when I worked with you. It's one of the things that I actually really liked about working with you, is that you weren't really afraid of talking to people. You knew everybody, and if you didn't, you were very friendly and you're saying hello, and you'd offer training advice all the time, solicited or unsolicited. So the big thing for me taken away from that is allowing for approach and being approachable. Yeah. So essentially becoming the face of the gym.
Yeah, like a club personality.
Yeah, just being a club man. It's like, oh, that's the guy to go to. That's a really friendly guy. If I needed to talk to advice, get advice about anything, there's going to be one guy you're going to pick out in the gym. Might not always be the biggest guy, might not always be the most cut guy, but you don't always need that. You just need to know, well, that guy's pretty switched on. I can go talk to him. He's really friendly and he's very knowledgeable. So it's how you kind of almost get into that position. So from the first get-go is that obviously you need to be on the gym floor, which is sometimes the hardest thing for people. So when a new PT comes into our club, we try to get them to be in at least 10 hours of the week on the gym floor, just being on the gym floor. But when you're on there, you kind of have to be on there with purpose. So it's not just hanging around on the gym floor, standing by the desk, leaning on it, on your phone or something like that. You kind of need to be up there for a reason, and people need to feel that you're up there for a reason. People don't want to see, and like if you're meant to be top dog, you're not going to have a couple of hours to spare lying around on the gym floor. So I would say, like some really easy quick tips of just being on the gym floor is you're going up there to tidy, put things away. Just gives you a really good excuse to actually get next to members. I know that sounds a bit weird, but if you're putting away dumbbells and things like that, just even little quick interactions of like, hey mate, are you done with that? Hey mate, are you finishing up here? I can help you with this. It's just a way of being able to kind of have a presence on the gym floor without being invasive.
Just one with time. Just because I don't repeat stuff you say later. I think it's easier if we just jump in and out. Just one with time. I'm a big one of that. On day one of the gym box course I run, I pull up a diary and I said, this is how you plan your diary. I'm a big fan of having you hit 2 peak times a day, no matter what. And I would say you're either a morning and lunch trainer or a lunch and evening. You can be all three. You can do morning and evening, but it's going to catch up with you eventually. You're better off setting yourself up saying, you know what, I'm a morning person. I'm going to do the 6 a.m. morning peak and the lunch peak. They're the ones I'm committing to. Or you're an evening person. You go, I'm going to do the lunch and evening, and you pick out 2 hours each day. So 4 hours of floor walking time. That's in your diary. And you've got to see it as a job, right? So if people go to work, they're going to be spending 40 hours at work. If you're not doing 40 hours in the gym, you're not really been to work yet. It's all right going in for an hour and saying, oh, I went into the gym to floor walk for a bit. It's like, well, what else did you do the rest of the day? If your priority is to build your business, you need to at least be at your place of work. That's the best place to start. Yeah.
That's very true.
By setting...
But you're kind of right there, and it's your place of business. So one of the things that I was just about to say about having the purpose of being on the gym floor, it's like, I don't see enough people almost like setting up shop on the gym floor. It's like if that's your workspace. It's a small story from when I went to go take over at Notting Hill. Is they showed me where my office was going to be. It was going to be on the gym floor, but it was literally a broom cupboard. It was by the squat rack, behind the squat rack, and you opened up, and I swear as I opened up there were brooms that fell over in there. And I was just like, I'm not sitting in like 5 minutes in there, mate. Like, so I remember setting myself up on the gym floor. They have a desk there, and I would just make sure that I was out and visible, and people could see me. I was working on my computer, but if someone wanted to come up and talk to me, I was there. I was the gym manager, so I was very easy to find. So I encourage anybody that's looking for something to do up on the gym floor or being in club. It's like, you can do your work, just do it on the gym floor, as long as you're obviously looking presentable and you can make yourself as engaging as possible. I used to have a little poster that just said like, come ask me anything, and so people would walk by, oh okay, well, I can disturb that guy, he obviously doesn't mind it. So it's just the idea of really just getting familiar with people, engaging with members, even just down to saying hello to most people.
What's the score with Virgin at the moment? So you get a new PT, they've got no dedicated hours to do on gym floor, have they, in terms of contractual?
Not really. It's a hard one because we do offer a slight like a scale that slides down in terms of hours, like what we call
Right.
guaranteed hours. Now, the idea behind that is that they get paid for
Yeah.
doing floor walking. It's quite a nice way of getting people in the door and getting a bit of money in their pocket. Because as well as through Virgin Active, it's a month in arrears because we
Yeah.
invoice for our work. So you might start off in May, but you're not hitting your May's pay
Yes.
till the end of June. So, so it's just nice for them to have
Yeah.
something to come in with, but also as well gives us a little bit of leeway when we ask them to
Yeah.
do it, because sometimes it's like, right, we've hired you, we'd like you to be in club, we want you to be in club so much that we'll actually pay
Yeah.
you to be in club. So when people aren't in club, we can hold them a little bit more accountable. It's like, well,
Yeah, yeah,
what are we paying
definitely.
you for?
So Gymbox, we used to have this like scaling floor hours where you're swapping hours on the gym floor for rent. So while you're on the gym floor, you tidy up and stuff. We don't do that anymore. And the reason we don't do that is because we wanted to say to the PTs, right, bring your business here, run your business. We won't control your diary. You are here to hire the space. You'll pay a licensing fee. We have a scaling rent when they join, just to kind of give them a chance to break in. And then after that, but we don't ask you to do anything for your time. You pay your license fee and you're running the business. So we don't have control over the PTs, which is a good thing, but also it's a bad thing sometimes when you say to people, you're in control of yourself. You need to take responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure you spend the time on the gym floor. I know some of the other self-employed places, unless they've changed. I know Fitness First you do 25, 20, 15 hours on the gym floor. I think Pure Gym's the same. But we don't have that in our place anymore, which I think is a good model. But at the same time, you need to take ownership and do your time.
Yeah, like every model
Yeah.
though, it has its ups and downs and its pros and cons. I would like to think Virgin Active actually got it fairly right with most of it. Obviously, it can always be better, but for the idea of giving people structure for people who've never really ran their own businesses, it's quite nice sometimes to give them that. It's like, hey, I just want you to come in for these hours and do X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And here, like, we'll give you something for it because something is obviously way
definitely.
better than nothing.
Yeah, like you say, there's pros and cons. Yeah, I like both. When you get when I joined Gymbox, I didn't do any of the floor hour stuff. There was an option too, but I was like, now I'm going paying straight full rent because I was like, I'm too busy doing my stuff that I don't want any gym to be on my case. But then
Yeah.
so I went straight into like what was known as the platinum model, where I had a scaling rent, and all I did was just build my client base, full walk by myself, run my own diary. And that's the type of approach I try to teach people on the courses. Like, you need to organise your diary like this now. And yeah, let's get back to that. So you're telling people to do a minimum of 2 peaks a day. You're telling people to do a minimum of 4 hours of floor walking a day. So let's talk about some tips then. You said about the smile and say hello. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of, if you're like 10 feet away from someone, you just kind of eyebrow, smile, wave. And if you're like 5 feet away, you actually say hello. If someone gets close to you, you actually do engage with them. You don't just stare them down and walk past them.
Yeah, I really do feel like people need to realise that approaching people is not easy. You know what I mean? Approaching people in a gym is actually quite hard work because, you don't want to be known as like someone that invades people's spaces while they're working out. You don't want to be known as a creep. You want to be like nice and friendly, but not overly friendly. You don't want to be seen as standoffish. So we want to be, as I said, as engaging with people as possible. But if I was to give like a little bit of advice here, is that why are people in a gym? They're there to work out. So you can always ask people if they need things. So it's like, hey, for example, someone comes to the gym and they're kind of like having a little bit of a meerkat.
Yeah.
And it's like, just you're right there, mate. Do you need anything? You know what I mean? Asking people who need spots. Do you need any assistance? How's your workout going? That's an easy one. One of the best things that you can do as well is actually telling people your name. The amount of times that I've had people come down, like members go, "Oh, some guy was really helpful today," and it's like, "Oh, what was their name?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't know," and it's like, "Oh, what did he look like?" He's about your height, he brown hair, and you're like, great. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, who the fuck's that? So it's good to let people obviously know that you work here. Depending on obviously what gym you are, like we're stacked in our uniform. It's black and you've got your name badge and it's got our logo on it. But I know that some gyms will have, you're on the gym floor. Sometimes you're on the gym floor working out, and then and sometimes you instinctively go into work mode with people, and because you want to be helpful and you want to, as I said, be engaging. So it's sometimes good to just soften people's barriers a little bit, but don't worry, mate, I do work here. And I think if this kind of like when we talk about the ABC, it's like the approach and the kind of the banter and the coaching side of things. That's the really old school way I got taught about it. So it's kind of like the approach side of things is just, as I said, it's just being socially aware. I think it's just as you're going up to somebody, not going up behind them and patting them on the shoulder while they're mid workout. Going around, approaching them in the invisible eye line so they can see you're coming. And if you are going to correct someone, don't assume what their goal is or the reason for their techniques. It's one of the things that you should always ask what they're doing first. So it would be a case of, I see someone maybe not going all the way down in the squat, or I see someone partially wrapping something. It would be very ignorant for me to assume, as I'm going over, that they're capable of performing those movements properly. So for example, if I go over someone and say, "Hey, you need to be squatting deeper," and they go, "Well, I can't because I've got no cartilage in my knees," or I have lower back issues, or things like that, and you kind of go, "All right, I look like an absolute dickhead right now." Nothing worse. So you, obviously you've introduced yourself. You kind of try to figure out why they're there. And a lot of it is just bringing people's guards down, because I think a lot of people have the approach that, a personal trainer's coming up to talk to me. It's going to be hard selling. It's going to be like, this guy is here to sell PT to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a long way down the road. It should always be that really soft approach, and it should just always be just make people feel really friendly. So, a lot of things when I go over to someone, sort of if I do have to make a correction or something like that, if they're okay with it, it's about just trying to find common touches. So, say for example, I'll be like, "Oh, don't worry about this. It's a common mistake. Even I do it, or I've been told that I've made this mistake before, and someone corrected me." And you're just trying to make people feel not dickheads themselves, because so many people feel very conscious about being in the gym, and they'll have a in shape professional guy coming over and saying, "Hey, being really friendly, but your form is shit." At the end of the day, in say little words. So you're trying not to embarrass people.
So
which is a big
with
one.
That, a good point, and something I think about is taking feedback is hard, and the older I've got, the more open I've been to taking feedback, because the younger I was, the more closed I was. Definitely, as I got older, I've been like, you know what? If this person says one thing to me that then will change everything I do going forward, then that's great. That's a great bit of advice. So whatever he says, if I can just hear one thing that might change how I do things forever, then that was brilliant. If I hear anything I'm not really interested in, that's fine. But if he gives me any advice, oh great, So when I'm when I've done courses or whatever, I might have turned up, and I was like, as long as I hear one good thing from this, it's been totally worth it. But it took me a little bit older. You gave me advice. So Adam has another podcast, and Adam's gave me advice on the mics. He's gave me advice on the setup, and he's like, you really need to get something like this. I could just be closed. No, I like it my way. But by listening to other people, I've been able to improve, this process. But I've never been able to do it working out myself. So it's took me to get a bit older to kind of listen to what people say, to kind of be more open to feedback. So I always think when you go up to people, you've got to be aware that they might not initially be open to feedback. So you have to be kind of aware of your approach, and that's why,
Yeah.
like you said, if you go up and not attack them, but say you're doing this wrong, you know,
Yeah, that's it. It's become a point of help, not and it's so easy for people
Yeah.
to feel attacked sometimes because at the same time, it's not to get into the whole psychology of it, but when it comes to like people's egos and people's identities and things like that, someone can be, like a CEO of their company, do really well, manage like hundreds of people. But as soon as they step in the gym, they're almost like everybody else because they have no idea what to do.
no,
And then some people don't like to feel like people like they're sort of being, for a bloke can be feeling quite emasculating for someone to come over and tell them that they're doing something wrong in the gym in front of other people. So you do have to pick your moments, and I think you're right with the how you show people. You can show them that one thing. That's why I always think with your corrections, if you ever are going to do this, like in the ABC way, the banter and coaching way, is that show it in a very clear, quick fix direction. Like, because you've got to be conscious of people's time as well. You're going over to people, and you're not going to give them a half an hour seminar on the gym floor. But like, this is why your squat's wrong. Because people are like, right, mate, I've got 45 minutes here. I'm on my lunch break, and you're just talking to me. You know what I mean? It's just like. Quickly show them. Back in the day, obviously, you do a bit of touch correction. Maybe not so much COVID friendly now. But if you can show somebody something really quick and something that's super beneficial for them in one 5-minute demo, then that person might start thinking that, hey, if he can show me something that's super beneficial in 5 minutes, what could I learn in an hour with this person? What could I learn in a block of sessions with this guy? So you kind of, in a way, demonstrated your value as a professional, as a coach. So it's kind of makes more sense to me. It's just like, come in, just like, hey buddy, like, you're not doing this right, try it like this, quickly show him.
yeah,
And then you can leave it at that, because if you kind of get the vibe. But I always think that people make the mistake of not following up. So you should offer them your time. Like, hey, if you need more, like, let me show you this. Come see me for 20 minutes. I can show you how to do all of this better. And it's such a big mistake because people kind of go overly formal. It's like, oh, I've gotten to the point where I've approached, I've created a bit of a rapport, I've coached this person. Right now, I can go in for the sale, and it's like, no. Just like, build up your rep, build up your rep in the gym. Be the guy that will come over and correct people, and will be helpful. And if they do want to be shown stuff like that, it's like, hey, like, why don't you, 20 minutes for squatting, you know what I mean? It's that everyone can spare 20 minutes in their week. It's like, oh, let me book you in for a taster session. It's like, well, this person might not want a taster session. This person might just literally want to have a little quick coaching on a squat, on a deadlift, or a bench, or something like that.
And you're right. And it's also to protect your time as well, right? So you've got 2 hours on the gym floor to prospect, to meet as many, to make as many engagements as you want, or you might have a target to hit, which you should do. So you're like, okay, while I'm here, dude, quickly do this. Give him a quick bit of advice. Tell him to do the set. Watch him do the next set. I'm always wary. If I give someone advice, I'm kind of almost like, I'll put a stopwatch on. If it's been 90 seconds, then I'm like, mate, just quickly do your next set. I don't want to ruin the flow of your session, because all of a sudden they're now taking 5-6 minutes between sets. So you're like, okay, there's been 90 seconds. You do your set. You've gave them advice. Step back, and then say, that's when you could just have a line that you're going to close. With something like, mate, it's so much better. Well, it's up to you what to do now. I'm offering program reviews. Would you like to book in for like a 20-minute, and we can go through all this in more detail on another day? Something punchy, something to the point, but also like that's quite a friendly approach. Like you say, you offering a program review if the conversation went that way. Are you a new member? You never had your introduction. Well, why don't you book that in?
You used to be very good.
Mate, if you want, we can take the squat. Why don't we do a squatting session together? I can't really be with you right now, but how about we come in? What other days are you in this week? Something that flows naturally to what you just taught them, but also protects your time, and then you get that lead.
Yeah, make it flow naturally. Yeah, I mean, make it, and that's all it is. It's like,
Yeah.
and that's why I do feel that people do struggle sometimes, because I feel that we're quite naturally friendly people. I mean, how many times have we been in McDonald's at 2 a.m, and then you've been like
Wait.
making new best mates?
That's not for the podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
That's not for the podcast.
sometimes to our detriment, because it's like, Dale, we want to go. And he's like, I was like, oh, I've just met these people, and he's like, oh.
I'm telling jokes.
So if I was to break this all down, which is really like bullet points, is so be on the gym floor, big one. Be approachable, so be friendly. You want to engage with people. If you are approaching people up in the gym, obviously make sure that you are approaching them in a friendly manner, as in obviously introducing yourself. If you're going to correct anyone's form, just make sure you know exactly what they're doing first. Again, never assume anyone's goals. Bring the guard down. Obviously, just make them feel welcome. Make sure that they know that they're not being singled out. Be mindful of the time, i.e. don't waste theirs and don't waste yours. So just give very quick, quick fixes and directions. And then offer them your time. So, as I said, you can show them X in a certain amount of time. As I said, I think the biggest mistake is people don't follow up with that. It's like they do all the hard work of approaching someone, correcting them, and then don't offer them anything else at the end of it.
So the way I see that as well is that you've gone into their world. You've kind of interrupted their world. You gave them some advice, but once you get them booked in for some form of consultation or taster, then they come into your world where you're ready. So that's when they turn up, and then you can be professional. You're like, I've got this process of, these are the questions I'm going to ask, this is my consultation process, this is how I'm going to run the session, and they're listening to you, and you're running the time, you're running that whole session. So you want them in your world. When you go meet them on the gym floor, you meet them in their world, you make that connection, and then you're like, right, I've got them booked in Tuesday 6 p.m. They're coming in for a professional kind of process, they're coming in for this session that I'm putting together, so you have 100%. Full control. And once you have full control, then they're just listening, they're doing what you say, and that's when that can lead on to the sale. I've got some bullet points, mate. I'll walk you through mine. I've got 5 top tips.
Can always learn something.
So I've got one. So these are 5 tips I put on my Gymbox calls. So I say, tip 1: get to know the members.
Yep.
So a lot of this is we're repeating ourselves, but it's a bit like get to know the members, know what time they come in, know how many times a week they come and train, know who's in your club, become that club personality. Listen to the members, so that when people first start, they talk to a few people, they get a few names. After a week, you can't remember that person's name. There's too many members in the gym. Most gyms have 1,000.
I've spoken to hundreds of people this week, and sometimes the name will slip.
Yeah, so what I do, I have a lead tracker sheet, so which I have on my iPad, and I'll be like, okay, I've got this person's name, and I might take their name and number, or Instagram, or email, however we connected.
You do the Instagram.
There is a reason, mate. I'll tell you why in a second. That will lead on to that.
Well, yeah, because I know you sell a lot of your programs on Instagram.
It's not that. I'll tell you in the end, because it's quite a good floor walking tip.
Okay.
And I used it a lot when I first started Gymbox. So listen to members, and I might be like, okay, this is John. I met him back squatting. He trained. He's training. He's just training for to get in shape, or he's training for rugby or whatever. So then I'll write those little tips in. So when I do see him again, there is a kind of especially when you're starting out, you need to be fully on this, more than you would ever would. So that's me. This is me day 1, week 1. I'm meeting people. So when I do see them, not only have I remembered their name. I mean, it's not important if they remember your name. It's more important you remember their name. That's the big thing. And nobody is good at names. You just have to, everyone says, I'm not really that good at names. I'm good at faces. Everybody's good at faces. But with names, if you could find a way to remember their name and remember something about them, I gave that person some mobility tips. Because they had that nick issue. And you could be like, oh, did you do those, that banded work I showed you? And then there might be a yes or no. And it's just such a great way to follow up when you re-see them on a gym floor. So
I think it shows a level of professionalism and one of the things that has actually worked for me a few times, especially I found that with slightly older clients as well, that they feel valued and remembered, and I feel like maybe slightly generational thing as well, that obviously you remember someone's name and that just comes across as a little bit more professional. I find it funnier that I will remember their names. Yeah, I'm the one wearing a name badge.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If you're like, oh, what's my name again?
Yeah. And also, like, the gyms we work in are members clubs, right? It's a club full of members. Eventually they should be closed because they're full. And some clubs I know in the city, especially like the Harbour Club and stuff, and Equinox, they do have waiting lists. So if it, but in like our clubs, we do seem to take new members on every month, but it is a members only club. You can't come in unless you're a member. So if you start remembering names, you're going to fly up that I know that guy, I like that guy. So tip 1, get to know the members. Tip 2, listen to the members. And tip 3, think about the members' experience. So I started my career in the army, so from 16 to 24, I was in the paras, so 8 years in the army. I only went to army gyms, whenever I walked to the gym, only at that time only men were in the paras. So like in my camp, it was just like super fit blokes lifting tin in the gym. There's a different way you chat to people in that environment. I tell you that right now. So when I left the army and went straight to Virgin, it was like, oh, how do you talk to civilians? How do you talk to women? How do you train? It's just like everything was different, and I had to just then change my approach. And where I'm going with this is, I never knew what it was like for PT to come up to me and give me advice.
Actually. You know what?
That still never happened. How much I must have this like sign across my forehead, or I'm actually doing things right. But when I go into the gym, that's not the gyms I work in. PT's never actually approached me and gave me advice, gave me some tips. So I've never saw it from a member's point of view. And I think like it's interesting you haven't either, and that's not a bad thing. But that just means we don't know what it's actually like. So over our time, we've probably started to gauge, started to think about approach. But if you're someone that's not really floor walked before, you've got to think, what is this like when I come up to you? Am I just telling you take your headphones out? Am I in your face too much? Am I kind of being annoying? And it's kind of like it's something you need to constantly assess and look at within yourself, because this is a process you need to figure out. So I would just say always think of things from a member's perspective. Like, what does it look like when you go and chat to them? What do you look like on the gym floor?
It's actually like, that's kind of like, not I would say blow my mind, but it's actually maybe really pause for thought. That so like because whenever I have that effect on people. Because whenever I've had to sort out coaching, I've taken I suppose it's maybe more in my instincts. If I don't know something, I will go and find out. Because I'm very much aware of I'm an idiot and I don't know everything, so I would like to try and know as much as I can about a subject or something if I don't know. And obviously in the wonderful age of technology, most things are Googleable, but there is that human approach, and sometimes being able to actually have someone interact interface with you so you can ask questions back, it's really really handy. So if I wanted to go pick up a skill, say like weightlifting or something like that, I'd be like, oh, I want to weightlift. Okay, I want to learn how to snatch and clean. All right, I'm going to find the nearest weightlifting club and I'm going to go there and learn. And maybe we just don't come across as those kind of people when we do walk in the gym. Maybe because we have that kind of approach or like level of confidence of when you're walking in, both fairly in shape guys, maybe not just that sort of like demographic that other PTs might pick up on, but saying that, if I had a guy approach me who could teach me something that I didn't know, I would be very happy to part way with my money. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And mate, it's interesting. You must do it the same. I love going to gyms I don't work in, and companies I don't work in, because I can't help but just kind of, you see all the managers running
overly
around.
Judgmental.
You know who's in charge. You know who's on shift. You know who's kind of the new people. And then I can't help but people watch, in the gym. And I just want, and like some gyms I go into, I'm like, God, there's so many leads
Yeah,
in here. So, well, what's this PT team doing? And then like they might not even say hello to me. And
that's
like,
the big one for me.
It's like I'm not going to complain.
No.
It's just saying I notice now, and
But you will notice that. Like I'll notice that in the gym. First impressions is obviously everything, and I know a very good gym just from the moment I walk in, because I'll be acknowledged within just a couple of seconds of walking in by a member of staff. It's such a big thing as well, just to say, hey, hello, welcome to our club, or welcome to our gym. And you're like, oh, okay, cool, awesome. Well, this gym has already put the foot right forward, and it can only hopefully ever go up from there. The worst is obviously when you walk in, no one looks like they give a shit that you're there. And it's like, for some people that's not important, because really you're just turning up to use a facility. But at the same time, I want to feel that if they're doing something right there, they're probably doing everything else right. So if they're taking care of the standards at the front of the house, they're probably taking very much care of the standards of the gym. So the gym will be clean, everything will be fixed. If there is something missing, that if you're going after someone, they'll be happy to like assist you. I've had that before, mate, where I've walked into a gym, not to say which gym, because it'd probably get me into a bit of trouble, and I was just dismayed with how dirty and untidy it was. And then I went to go jump on a watt bike, which are quite notorious for breaking, you know what I mean? I got onto it. One of the straps was missing off the pedal, and I was like, okay, well, I can't use this because I didn't bring my cleats. Jump onto the next watt bike, that one's not working. And there's a PT sat on, like, there's 4 in a row. He sat on right at the end one on his phone looking down. And I was like, oh, mate, just so you know, these 2 watt bikes aren't fixed, or they're not working. And he's like, oh, all right, mate. And just going back down to look at his phone. I just went, woo! I was just like, wow. I wasn't pissed before, because I know things like this happen. But it's the fact that someone was just so almost like, not negligent, but someone just obviously just didn't give a shit. And I was just like, that
leads me on to my next point, right? Nicely. Point 4 is treat every situation as a make or break. So that PT has broke that initial communication with you. You have no idea about him. Could be a great guy. Could be the best PT in there. And he did not know who you was, but like he's broke that kind of engagement with you, and he has to see it like that. You could be like, dude, listen, I want to train 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And he could be the perfect trainer of you, but you've already got this. We don't like everybody. People do not like everybody. Yeah. So you can't expect everyone to get along. But there's that first impressions. You're like, okay, choosing the PT. Well, he's gone. I'm not interested in him. She looks boring. He's smoking on the gym floor. He's gone. You're like, people, that happens, right? People are looking at PTs like trying to size them up. Who's going to be the right person for them? And if you treat every situation as a make or break, so when you go and interact with somebody, you're not over, you're not too much. You're not overly aggressive. You're not over salesy. You're trying to help. You're trying to add value. That would stand you in good stead, because it gives you a chance to reconnect with them later on when you see them in the gym.
I think that like we do have to admit that within this industry, it's something that I know a lot of people don't like to face facts about, but it's quite a shallow industry. And as I said, like we just spoke about, first impressions make a huge difference, but people will instantly judge you upon meeting you, and that's just human nature. And obviously you can improve that situation by being obviously genuine, friendly, helpful, and all that. And I really do feel that people just look at it and on the real surface, like if I'm in shape and I'm a really fit guy, I'm shredded, got big muscles and all that stuff, I will sell PT. You know what I mean? And to a point, you might sell a little, because people just look at that and go, oh, okay, that guy knows what he's doing. But you really narrow your pool of potential clients like that. You know what I mean? It's amazing to me when you do see these really big in shape guys, PTs, on the gym floor, and you're just like, you seem like a bit of a douchebag, because you're being loud and obnoxious. You're very aggressive about how you've approached that member, because you literally almost like shouted them off the bench because you wanted to use it or something like that. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and I'm not saying which gym that was, Derek Biggs. That's,
It's nothing to do with me.
yeah, or maybe, I'll save that for after. But it's amazing, as you said, about the people watching thing, because you'll just go, okay, like, I've seen that, and I'm in the gym. I'm pretty sure there'll be about another 20 people that have seen that as well. You know what I mean? It's just,
all those people on the cross trainers, mate, all they do is watch.
yeah.
They're people
Well,
watching.
what else have they got to do?
All those members are just looking forward on the cross trainers. They're seeing everything that happens.
But that's
Okay, so then that leads finally actually on my fifth point, which is exceed members' expectations.
yes,
So
100%.
you know, I walk around the gym for coaching cues, chats about programming, you know, and I'll get the chats onto programming as quick as I can. Like, where's your program going? What are you trying to achieve here? And coaching cues, like you say, if you met someone who's squatting, you can give him a quick fire. Dude, if you just do this, life will be better. Your squatting life will be better.
Every aspect of your life will improve in this one moment.
and then he goes back to the squat, makes that adjustment, you know, squats a little bit deeper, feels more comfortable. Great. You know, then okay, mate, yeah, have a good session. You know, follow up with the try to book him in, but he'll leave that going, that was actually pretty good advice.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with that. You know, if you exceed expectations, it just helps with the process. So if I'll recap them, get to know the members, listen to the members, think about the members' experience, treat every situation as a make or break, and exceed expectations.
Yeah.
Right. So if I talk about Instagram, mate.
Go on then.
So
here we go.
So when you first start in a gym, you will have extra time. You just will.
Yeah, fair enough.
And one way of lead gen is, you know, people need to know, like, and trust you before they buy anything of you. And at the minute, they see you, so that, oh, okay, I do know. I like Virgin or I like Gymbox, so they like him. So we can kind of, do I trust you or deliver the product? You know, maybe not yet. I've got no reason to. I've got nothing to judge that off. So, like, no, how can they get to know, like, and trust you? That's when things like Instagram comes in and people can go, oh, actually, I follow this trainer. He trains in the gym. I can see how he trains. I can see kind of what he's into, what he's about. And I can see he's like fully embedded in the club. Okay. And it will show a bit more about you. But also, you know, let's say Instagram's great for when you mess up the conversation. Okay. So if the conversation doesn't flow well, so let's say I've met somebody, I've got level 4 and lower back pain, so I kind of always find people that need mobility help. And let's say I'm in the mobility stretching area, and you see somebody like kind of trying to touch their knees and can't, and you're like, "What are you doing, mate? Are you warming up, cooling down?" Well, I'm just warming up. I was like, "Well, maybe you should do this. Why don't you do this flow?"
Yeah.
And then I take them through like a movement flow. Oh, that feels so much better. Or give them something like that. And then, oh, cheers, mate. And if I've kind of like lost the edge of the conversation with like, oh, can I get your email to book you in? And like, well, why? You know, let's say you lose that situation. What you could then say is, are you on Instagram? Well, give my page a follow, because at the moment I'm uploading mobility flows for people to do. So you'll be able to see loads of stuff like that.
Yeah, cool.
If I meet someone deadlifting and I messed up the conversation, or like say you're squatting, dude, you gave him a bit of tips, and then he's like, oh, cheers for that, mate. Puts his headphones back, you know, goes to put his headphones back in, and you're like, oh, how do I kind of book him in? Like, there's no, well, shall we book him for a session? You might be like, oh, I've kind of lost the flow of the conversation.
Yeah, you can't slap the headphones out of his ears, unfortunately.
That's when you can say, are you on Instagram? Give me a follow, because I'll be putting up a load of squatting tips and programming tips on my Instagram. So then if they follow you, well, you don't even have to put that stuff up, but if they follow you and you've got a bit of that on there, that's great. So let's say the mobility guy, he could follow me, and because he's followed me, I can share the post with him. I can go, here you go, dude, this is the mobility stuff I put up.
Okay.
Work through this platform. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to say, at the moment I'm booking in people for program reviews. Would you like to come in for a 20-minute consultation?
You know what? I was going to shit all over your Instagram, but that makes a lot of sense.
And because the second you need to get people into messaging, you need to get people into emailing, to texting, or to, like, let's say use the Instagram direct messenger, because once people are messaging, they can be their self. We're confident in people as people talking to people, but other people might not feel their self. So if you can get someone onto a messaging system of some form, they can actually tell you what they actually want. And I find if you mess up the situation, that's when you can say, follow me on Instagram, and I'll send you and you can see some of the stuff I put up, and then you can follow up with that.
It might have inspired me to blow the dust off my Instagram account.
I mean, you need to. I've got nothing to tag you in at the moment. I've got to close this.
People try tagging me in it. I'm just like, I only use it for my other podcast, and and then it's literally from I think about 5 years ago from all my competition photos. Yeah. Which is great because it's always good to bring those out, and you go, "Oh, you remember what I used to look like?"
So yeah, mate. Honestly, it was my go-to if the conversation started going wrong. Obviously, I had the professional approach of I'm looking for emails to book people in for program reviews, for consultations, for trials, whatever you want to book in. If I've messed it up and the flow's gone, that's when I can easily pop to Instagram, and then I'll start a conversation that way. It's a good one. Yeah. Right, that's our time, mate. That was great. Thanks very much for being on and sharing that info.
No worries.
If people got any questions for us, you can just leave them into any of the comments wherever you're watching this. This will be on YouTube. This will be on. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe as well. If you're on Coach's Corner, as in the app, then you can leave comments there, and we'll kind of do a live Q&A at one point. I think it'll be quite good. But yeah, thanks for being on, Adam. One quick plug. I'm just finishing and uploading the latest side of my online business course. I filmed all new content for that, and earlier this year I started filming the online programming course. That's been out for a while, and now I've got the online business course, which is all done. So I've got 2 online products. I've got a little bundle pack for them called the Ultimate PT Bundle, and that is currently on a super early bird sale, which ends on the 4th of July. So you've got a week from today to kind of get involved with that. I won't go too much of it. All the details are in the comments below, but just click on any of my pages and you'll see it. But that's my Ultimate PT Bundle's got a super early bird sale. And yeah, all that content goes live on Monday 5th, which I'm quite excited about. Right, happy, Adam?
Always happy.
Always happy. Right.
Always happy.
Have a good... Well, it's only a couple of days. I know you're on annual leave at a minute, so have a good annual leave.
I am. Getting away from it all.
Thank you for jumping on. And then, have a good... Well, it's month 1 of quarter 2, right, in July. So you do, buddy. Yeah, have a good one, mate. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.